let's dig into ERIC a little bit. So I'm going to click the link to that. Once I'm in ERIC, I'm going to do something. I'm just going to take a topic like, how about bullying? And then I'm going to combine it with and school safety. When I'm up here, all this is really doing is searching for my words everywhere in an item record, which would mean if the full text was available, it would look for my words in the full text, which can be highly irrelevant. The problem is if you're looking for a lot of articles or you're doing, say, 5 or 10 articles, you may miss things and make a lot of work for yourself. If you don't see your words up here where it says bullying and school safety, now it's searching for subject headings. And so if I click this, you see what my search looks like now. And what that means, if I do a preview over here to show you the record, I'm only searching here. I'm not searching up in here. I'm not searching the title. I'm not searching anything other than the subject headings. And in a sense, what I'm doing when I do that, it's almost like asking the computer, hey, Mr. Computer, you're alive and I can speak to you. Would you go get me articles that have bullying and school safety in the subject headings? And it says, sure, here you are. Okay, this one has both of them. It also has other things in here. So depending on how many hits I have, you know, if I have 328 hits, I could add another search term in there, right? And I could make it a little tighter. But I could also do something even better. I could take what I have and say, hey, I only want scholarly journals. I don't want any of the trade educational journals and magazines and stuff like that. I only want a scholarly source. Okay, so I can click this link over there, and now I have it down to scholarly sources. So under document type, there's this one where it says reports research. When I click this, all my articles are going to have that straight research format where you have a lit review, you have a methodology, results, discussion, and generally they'll either be in the last paragraph or a final section. You have a conclusion along with your bibliography. Now I can look at the preview at first and look through here to see, is there something that indicates that? There it is. This study examines how educators navigate social and academic environments in order to incorporate inclusive pedagogical practices and cultivate safe schools for LGBTQ students. Okay, so you can put something like that in there. Generally, the full text will appear in one of two ways. When I'm back here, I might see this in the database. If you went to eric.gov, you know, where the free website of ERIC, you'd get this full text as well. But you notice it's only one full text out of the first 5 articles and probably out of the first maybe 10 or more. The check at SOU is running a program that goes behind the scenes, which is called a link resolver. The link resolver, what it does is it checks full text access to this journal anywhere in our collections. So that would be upstairs, hard copy on the second floor that you walk up and then you have to photocopy. That would mean any of our online journal collections. Most of our journal collection now is composed of an online journal collection, up to 22,000 journals, whereas hard copy we're down to under 1,000. And the under 1,000 includes newspapers and things that you're not even looking for. So most of what you're going to get is going to come either on the computer or via interlibrary loan, which you may or may not ever have to use. So when I look at this, I check SOU, and this is what happens when I do this. It comes over here. It's going to go into our catalog, but it says you need to sign in first. So use the MySOU sign in to log into here. And that's the only time I have to do that, and I won't have to do that again. When it comes over to here, it says full text available through Sage, which is an online journal collection. I love when I get Sage. Why? Because it's really cool and easy. So I click this. It opens up over here, and all I get is my abstract again. I haven't got the full text. So I have to look somewhere on this page for the full text, which is highlighted in yellow in Sage. It's the only one of the online journal collections that highlights where the PDF is in yellow. I click the PDF, and now I have the PDF on here. Now, one of the things I can do with this, I can print it. I generally don't print articles. I'm going to talk a little bit about why. So what I need to do with this is I need to take part of this title, because if I go down over here and save it, this is what I'm going to save it as right now. Let me clear that so you can see Education in Urban Society at the title of the journal, and then it tells me the author, none of which is useful to me at this point when I bring up this article. So what I want to do is I want to cancel this for a second. I'm going to go back over here because I can pull this up where I can copy more of it. And I don't want to take the quotations, but I'm just going to take this much of it. If that doesn't work, because this is a weird title, you could even take just the challenges of addressing LGBTQ. So I'm going to copy that, go back over to the article, come back over and make a copy of this, leaving my PDF so it knows what to do when it opens. And then I'm going to save it. But where am I going to save it? I'm going to save it. If I was here, I would save it on my personal drive, which you all have. Yours will say your name, not my name on there. And if I go over there, I tend to save all mine in one place. When I'm doing articles that I'm working on, you want to put it on your P drive. Okay? So you have that. Now, if I've gone that far and I've found this article useful and I'm doing that, actually, before I go, I wanted to look at this article because I believe this should be in some kind of a format like an actual study where you're getting a lit review right up in the front of it. So here's your review of the literature. So that was more of an introduction, and they're doing this. I think they're doing it a little strangely in here. So then I'm going to come over here. So theoretical framework, and here's your methodology that they do. And then there should be a results or a data analysis or results and interpretation. Now, that makes me think, I'm wondering if they put the discussion mixed in with the results. So I'm kind of coming through here looking. Theoretically, there should be a discussion part, but they may have mixed these two, which it looks like they've done that. Little unusual format. And then last but not least, there should be a section called conclusion, or, well, this one does have conclusion as a separate section, or the conclusion will be the last paragraph of the discussion. Okay, that's your hard research article where they're testing something, if you will. That's probably a good way of explaining it. Once I have that, I come back over to my article over here. And let me go back over here. So all I did is I clicked the title before. But now that I have the title clicked, I want to cite this. So I come over to here where it says cite, click it. Mine's defaulting to APA 6th edition. I take that citation, I copy it, and I'm talking about immediately. If I take the article, I'm doing this right now. I don't mess with citations later on. It's counterproductive. Even if I choose not to use this, then I just delete it. But while I have it, I'm opening a blank document and I'm pasting this in here. And I generally do the paste option. So a couple things. I want to make sure that this is correct. So far, it looks really good. It didn't have a DOI, so it did a retrieve from, and it puts the website of ProQuest in here. What's missing on my references here, that and the word references, whoops, spelled correctly. So I do the references. Let me center that real quick. So I have that. And if I'm going to do the double spacing, I'll do that later. Also, I want to make sure my font's right, not Verdana 9. It's probably going to be Times New Roman 12. Hanging indent, everybody know how to do that? Yep, you go to paragraph. And I like to think of something that hanging indent is just special to me. And it makes your paper special. So you go under special, and that's where it's located. And you get the hanging indent and hit OK, and then your hanging indent set. If you then put a return over here and set another one in there, it'll have the hanging indent automatically. Now, let me go back here for a second because this is what's cool about this database. If I go like this, look at my other option that I have. APA annotated with the abstract. Wow, what's that look like? Well, let's change it and make it do that. Now it gives me the abstract of the article. So I could, in my working bibliography, as opposed to my final copy that I hand in, come over to my document here and say, oh, let's not do it this way. Let me do it this way. And I'm going to take this, separate that out. And this I don't even really want a hanging indent, so I could eliminate the hanging indent on that. So what I did was, I'm still in that site. And what I did is, instead of doing the APA 6th edition, I did the APA 6th edition with annotated with the abstract. So what's nice about this is when I'm over here and I have my list of articles in here, I can look at this and say, oh, okay, this is what this article's about. You know, the 5-paragraph essay. You have an introduction, and you have a conclusion, and then you have your body with 3 sections. Well, a bigger paper, a 20-page paper, isn't much different than that. You may have 5 sections, 6 sections, and each section may have 4 or 5 paragraphs instead of 1. Well, sometimes I let the literature dictate what my paragraphs are. What better way to write than let the research speak to you? So I may go with this, since I'm talking about school safety and bullying, and I end up with one whole class of bullying. And that's one section. Okay, that's going to be one section of my paper. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to look, what other sections will the literature tell me about writing this paper? Okay, so I let the literature sometimes speak and guide my sections of the paper. I don't go in with my preconceived notions that I already know everything. I want to let the literature talk. This probably isn't like any of you. I know most people aren't like this, but I have a tendency to procrastinate, and I know no one in here does. Everybody's on it all the time, but that procrastination leads to facing a blank sheet of paper at some point. When I read a paper, I don't have a highlighter. I read a paper, if I see something that I like, I would cut and paste it right in there and put a parenthetical reference to what page number it is and put it in there. So I'm going to do Fredman et al. Page 20, what are the page numbers? Page 59. And I put it right in there with that quote, and I just stuff those things in there. If I see something in an article that makes me respond to it, like, oh, I don't believe that, or whatever, I write that response. And the reason I do that, because I no longer have a blank sheet of paper. I'm working with the article to produce something immediately. And after teaching class after class who had to do annotated bibliographies, once they wrote their annotated bibliography, their paper took shape and form and they were able to write. Before that, there was nothing. And all they did in the annotated bibliography was write some ideas that they were getting from the article why that article was useful, what's in there that's useful, and then the paper started taking shape. And I tended to take that one step further. So when I'm sitting back over here reading an article in here and I see something I like in the conclusion, the goal of the study, or something they say, then why not cut and paste that piece in there and then write around it and get going on the paper as opposed to letting it sit. So that's, just something I do. I don't highlight anymore. I keep all my articles electronically if possible, and I can scan them if I wanted to, but most of the time I'm getting them electronically, so I don't worry about it. Going back to the citation, one of the nice things I do like about the citations from this version of ERIC, they're more correct, and they include that annotation, which includes the abstract. I like having that because it gives me an idea of what each one of those articles are about that I have. And I have a working kind of a bibliography that's getting annotated and filling in with some of my text that's going to go in my paper. Now, if I come back over here, if I want the full text, I got to hit check at SOU. And again, I'm in another one that has Sage, so that's an easy one. I'm getting a lot of full text. Again, full text that I wouldn't get other than if I'm here. The other thing I see where it has references? This is the reference list used for the article. I can click this, and when I click this, what I'm doing is I'm looking not for an article like this where I don't have an access to the full text, but an article like this where the full text is right here. I know one thing, it could be relevant. It was relevant to this person who wrote my article that I first liked. And if it's about something similar, like national prevalence rates of bully victimization among students with disability, I probably want that information. So I have the full text, boom, I click the full text, and I have another article without really having to do much. So there's another thing with some of the articles. So I have my article here and I can save it. And again, I can cite the article and do all that. So here we have an article that was written in 2014 and already has been cited by 2 published authors. So if I see something in 2014, it was cited by 2 people. One is I want to see who cited it and what they're kind of doing, and if it's any relationship to what I'm doing. But it also says this article probably has some good use. Using the references in there helps me more, and plus I have the citations. And I did the thing over here where I did the document type. So I get the actual research reports, and I'm using only scholarly journals. I could also do educational level if I wanted. You can see what's in educational level. So if I was doing elementary education versus secondary, I could choose that. I could choose middle schools and hone my research even more. There's 3 ways of finding the article. One is it's full text in the database. Second is we go through the catalog to find it SOU or check it SOU. And then the third way, if this wasn't available, you would have interlibrary loan over here. Now, it costs $2 for interlibrary loan if you get it from us. If you go somewhere else, it can cost you $50 to $100. If you do get one article that you go off and you use our interlibrary loan, it's fairly easy because when you click the interlibrary loan, it loads up a separate site. The first time you do this, you have to create a form to go in, but then you're essentially, all you're doing is using your username and password. And then you come here. Everything for getting the article is already written out for you. All you need to do is hit submit request. What happens is you get an email, it says go back into this site, and you'll come over to this where it says received articles, and you'll click this, and under transaction will be your article. It'll be in a PDF form. It'll expire after 30 days, but at any time prior to the 30 days, you can download the PDF, put it on your P drive, and you'll have it in perpetuity. So it's not like you're paying something for limited use. You have it permanently. The other thing that's kind of nice, it will show you your history of requests. So if I lose something that I knew I once interlibrary loaned, I could come in here and look for it and then redo the search in the database and go get it again.